If you are keeping score, the West has just nailed another success against Vladimir Putin, this time in the information war. Putin keeps the Russian people in the dark about this war. They think it's just a small operation to rescue some Russians. But a Western intelligence agency reportedly infiltrated Russia's largest social media platform. It's the equivalent of Russian Facebook. And when Russians logged into their accounts on Sunday, they were treated to some alternative facts. And when I say alternative, I mean the stuff that the rest of the world actually gets to see. Like the number of Russian soldiers who've really been killed in Ukraine. The Russian military says it's, plus or minus 1,300. But NATO reports it's between 7,000 and 15,000. And Ukraine's is more modest. It has the tally at 13,000. The more you know. It's a small victory amid the greater horrors that are being perpetrated against Ukrainians, but it shows that when it comes to hacking, the West can beat the Russians at their own game. And that may be no more important than right now, especially when it comes to the prospect of a nuclear attack. Now, the conventional wisdom holds that Putin would not launch a nuclear warhead at America because he'd be annihilated, right? By the nuclear onslaught that comes right back at him. We used to call it mutually assured destruction back in the 80s. We still do. But hacking a nuclear power plant in the United States and then causing a nuclear meltdown there, well, that would amount to a nuclear attack without ever firing a missile. Can that happen? Might it happen? Are we prepared? Have we done anything to inoculate ourselves against it happening? Here to help us break it all down is Max Everett. He is the former Chief Information Officer for both the White House and the Department of Energy. Max, if you had asked me that question, 5 weeks ago, I would have said, that's just hyperbolic supposition. That sounds crazy. But I also wouldn't have expected that we'd be seeing the pictures that we're seeing out of all of Ukraine either. And I don't think the Ukrainians expected it either. So we're sort of forced to go into imaginative awful. And I'm wondering how much that is imaginative and how much it's actually plausible.
Well, I think it's something that's been a concern for us in the United States and around the world for some amount of time. Certainly when I was at the Department of Energy, we had teams there focused on cybersecurity, along with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, Homeland Security, and others. And so this was a very important concern. The thought that someone could do anything, whether it's cyber or physical, to cause an incident in a nuclear plant that released radiation. I think that's a nightmare scenario for all of us. So that is something we've been looking at, again, for many years in the United States. And the good news is, in many ways, we are prepared for it.
Well, I'm glad you say that. I don't feel, assuaged at all in my concern. And the only reason I say that is because I sure didn't think that Chernobyl or Zaporizhzhia were possible. Again, if you'd asked me 5 weeks ago, I would have said no one would go near Chernobyl for fear of hurting their own soldiers. And there they shut it down. And there it was on emergency generator power. We lost communication, so we had no idea what was going on there. And then people started to worry that if the generator power were to say run out, how would the spent fuel be cooled? Like how could this not be a disaster, moments from happening? So maybe that got people thinking it could be easy to do it here too.
Well, I think there's a few issues in the United States that we're more prepared for, but you're right. For many of us, even people who've been thinking about this for years, the pictures of the Russians firing artillery at an operating nuclear plant, the attack on Chernobyl, it does open the door for the thought that they could do the unthinkable. So I think that this has got one of the reasons you saw the recent letter that went out from the president on preparing for cyber attacks. In the U.S., we've done a few things over the last several years what relates to cybersecurity in terms of constantly testing and auditing those nuclear plants, both for their physical security, but also, as you've noted, importantly for their cybersecurity, to make sure that no one could do that unthinkable act of reaching in from the internet and somehow being able to shut down some of those physical processes that are necessary to safely operate a nuclear plant.
When you said just a few minutes ago that we're well prepared, the reason I don't feel as certain of that as maybe I should is because the recent news reports that we've been getting of the people they are catching. And I'll just list a couple here. And this is from the Department of Justice. So, it's pretty good information. 3 Russian spies were indicted recently for targeting energy infrastructure for 5 years. And they did it in 135 countries. And then you think about energy infrastructures. All right, well, we've got 56 nuclear power plants in the United States. How good is the security apparatus? How coordinated is the security apparatus for all 56 of those disparate nuclear plants?
Well, in those cases, I think the security there is very good because the good news is we have people who have been thinking about these unthinkable scenarios for many years, who've been looking at those. I think our energy sector as a whole, there is no question there's danger. We all saw what happened with Colonial Pipeline last year. That was just an attack on one company in one part of the energy sector. And the result was you had gas lines and shortages of gas for, a week plus here on the East Coast. So I think it is, reasonable for people to be concerned and ask those questions when it comes to the energy sector. But I would tell you that, certainly in my time at the Department of Energy, working alongside of people at Homeland and other places, there are a lot of eyes focused on protecting our critical infrastructure and especially around those nuclear plants. Again, all of them typically go through multiple tests every year, both physical and cyber, because again, it's the idea that could happen is just unthinkable. And again, I think that's one of the reasons emotionally it's been so difficult to watch that going on in Ukraine, to watch something, again, I agree with you. No one 5 weeks ago would have thought that we would see someone intentionally firing artillery at a nuclear reactor, because as well designed as we've tried to make those, I don't think anybody could rightfully say they know what would happen in those cases when somebody does something like that.
So I want to play for you something that Jason Weiss said on this program a couple days ago. He's a retired FBI agent, but he's also a current cybersecurity attorney. He knows a thing or two about this. And I asked him about how prepared we were with security at nuclear plants. And I was actually really alarmed at his answer. So I want to play it for you and then ask you about it on the other side. Take a listen.
I'm retired now, so I'm going to be honest. I don't think we're well prepared at all. I mean, at the end of the day, most of our electrical grids are guarded by nothing but a chain link fence and a $10 padlock. When these entities were built, they were not built with cybersecurity in mind.
So I get, what he's saying, and I get what you're saying, that people have had their eyes on this problem for not just the last 4 weeks. But I also feel, I think like a lot of Americans feel, once you're relying on the federal government or in certain energy, parts of the energy sector, the public, people just screw up, like the government screws up a ton of stuff. And I don't want to hear that the government screws up at a nuclear facility when it comes to the prowess of Russian hacking.
Well, that's Mary. I would agree with you. And I think one thing I would agree with is I think it's unquestionable that we need additional investment in protecting our energy sector, our energy grid, especially on cybersecurity. The reality he pointed out, and it's absolutely true, is that many of those systems were not designed thinking about cybersecurity from the ground up. There is, I think, an opportunity here for the country to make a bigger investment to go in and really redo some redesign and rebuild. One of the things I've seen in my career in cybersecurity is we've often made the mistake of simply trying to sort of slap cybersecurity on top of systems that already have flaws and issues in them. And this is a case where we probably need a larger reinvestment to make sure that we are building in security by design when it comes to the energy sector, our electric grid. And he's right there again, in many places, you can drive around and you'll see, obviously substations and things, there's just a fence around them. Those are the kind of things that they're going to need more attention. They need more investment. It is a good thing for the American people to see these things and be concerned and ask those questions, and make sure that the government is investing in the right places, that they are accountable for results, and making sure that we're doing the right things to protect our country.
Yeah, I'm all for paying more taxes if I know it's going to go to that. Max Everett, former Chief Information Officer for both the White House and the Department of Energy. I would really like to have you back, like regularly. Thank you very much for being with me.
Thanks very much for having me.
Appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.